The Galactic Council laughed when humanity warned them. They thought we were weak, primitive, doomed. They burned our worlds. They hunted our people. They tried to erase us from history. They failed, because humanity doesn't die. We adapt, we evolve, we hunt. Now, the Dominion is falling apart. Their fleets are burning. Their warlords are running. And tonight, we finish what they started. Welcome to the final battle. Massive fleet warfare, brutal ground combat, assassinations, betrayals. The war ends now. Strap in, soldier, because when humanity strikes back, we leave nothing standing. Like if you believe in human supremacy. Comment your favorite HFY moment. Subscribe for more epic sci-fi warfare. Now, let the hunt begin. The Galactic Council chambers were filled with laughter. Seated around a massive crystalline table, the representatives of the most powerful species in the galaxy dismissed the warning as an empty threat. The holographic display in the center flickered, showing a solitary human ambassador, standing defiant despite the overwhelming power arrayed against him. "You don't understand," the human said, his voice steady. "You think we will fall like the others. You think we will surrender." His eyes darkened. "But we are not like the others. We will hunt you forever." More laughter. A Zelvari diplomat, her elongated form shimmering under the council's light, leaned forward. "Such arrogance from a species barely a century into space travel," she sneered. A Rizel warlord, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking in amusement, added, "You are insects compared to us, primate. You will be extinguished like all the rest who stood against us." The human's face remained unreadable. He simply tilted his head as if memorizing their faces. Then, with quiet finality, he spoke. "You have no idea what you've just done." And with that, he severed the transmission. 3 weeks later, Earth burned. The fall of Earth, humanity's breaking point location, Sol system, battle over Earth. The sky was fire and ruin. Massive alien warships loomed above Earth's shattered cities, their weapons scorching the surface with ruthless efficiency. Millions were already dead. Entire continents had fallen. Commander Elias Rourke stood on the ruined streets of New London, gripping his rifle as his comms crackled. "Rourke, do you copy?" "The UN Orion is destroyed. The fleet is gone. Earth's defense grid is failing." Static. Rourke wiped blood and ash from his face. Around him, scattered squads of surviving human soldiers moved through the burning streets, engaging alien ground forces in desperate urban warfare. His lieutenant, Sarah Voss, slid into cover beside him, reloading her plasma rifle. "Commander, we can't hold this line. We need to retreat." Rourke looked up. The Dominion warfleet hung in orbit like a collection of silent gods, watching their work unfold. Earth was dying. "Where the hell do we retreat to, Voss?" he muttered. She had no answer. And then, something even worse happened. A deep metallic hum filled the air. The sky split apart as a massive, monolithic structure began its descent from orbit. It wasn't a ship. It was something else. A planet cracker. The Dominion wasn't just conquering Earth. They were erasing it. The last human war council location, hidden military bunker, Rocky Mountains. The surviving leaders of humanity gathered in the darkness. General Alex Mercer, leader of Earth's last military forces, leaned over the war table, eyes hollow. "We lost Mars, the Titan shipyards, the colonies. Earth is the last stand." Admiral Naomi Stroud clenched her jaw. "We have one fleet left, a handful of warships." Mercer exhaled. "That's not a fleet, that's a funeral procession." Silence. Rourke stood, his uniform torn and stained with blood and dust. "Then we make it count." Mercer met his gaze. "How?" Rourke's expression was like stone. We abandon Earth. The room went dead silent. Admiral Stroud narrowed her eyes. You're suggesting we run? Rourke shook his head. I'm saying we make them think we're dead. We take what remains of our forces and go dark. We let them believe they've wiped us out. Mercer leaned forward. And then? Rourke's voice was ice. Then, we hunt them. The hunt begins. Location: Outer Solar System, aboard UEN Revenant. The UEN Revenant drifted in the shadow of Neptune's moon, Triton. It was one of the last surviving human warships, a stealth destroyer built for deep space warfare. Now, it carried the last remnants of humanity's elite soldiers. Inside the war room, Rourke stood before a holomap of the Dominion's fleet movements. The Dominion believes Earth is finished, he said, and that's exactly what we want them to think. Sarah Voss folded her arms. So what's the plan? Rourke pointed at the map. We don't fight their fleets head-on. We don't wage a conventional war. His eyes burned with cold determination. We wage a war of extinction. Mercer frowned. Explain. We turn their conquest into a graveyard. We sabotage their supply lines, hijack their technology, and assassinate their leaders. We become the nightmare they never saw coming. A silence fell over the room. Then Stroud spoke. You're talking about total war. Rourke met her gaze. The Galactic Council thought they could wipe us out. He stepped forward, hands on the table. They have no idea what kind of war they just started. Cliffhanger. Ending. The first kill. Somewhere in deep space, a Dominion battleship floated in the void, unaware it was being hunted. Aboard the UEN Revenant, a single order was given. Fire. The ship-killer missile streaked through the darkness, silent, unseen. It struck the Dominion vessel's reactor core. For a single moment, the ship remained whole. Then, it detonated, scattering alien debris across the void. On the bridge of the Revenant, Rourke watched the flames fade to darkness. His voice was calm. One down. His eyes burned with cold vengeance. Welcome to the hunt. The Dominion had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. They had crushed rebellions. They had erased civilizations. They had never feared the hunted. Until now. Because the humans hadn't died. They had become ghosts. And now they were hunting back. Aboard the Dominion flagship Imperium, Rex location, Sector 134. Deep Space Patrol Route. Supreme Commander Valek Kor stood at the bridge window, staring into the endless void. His golden exosuit gleamed under the soft glow of the warship's control panels. The war was over. Humanity had been eradicated. Their homeworld burned, their fleets shattered, their colonies wiped from the stars. And yet, something felt wrong. Kor turned to his tactical officer, a young Zelvari lieutenant. What is the latest report from our outer patrols? The officer hesitated. Sir, we've lost contact with 3 supply convoys in the past solar cycle. Kor frowned. Pirates, the officer swallowed. Number, the wreckage. What little we found suggests precision strikes. Each convoy was destroyed from within. Security logs show no external attacks. It's as if someone got aboard and sabotaged them. Kor's mandibles clicked. That was impossible. Who would dare? The officer's voice dropped to a whisper. Sir, we believe it's the humans. For the first time in his long military career, Valek Kor felt something he had never known before. Fear. Operation Phantom Strike. Humanity's first revenge. Aboard the UEN Revenant, orbiting Dead Moon. Kraos. Commander Elias Rourke stood in the dimly lit war room, staring at the holographic battle map of Dominion supply routes. Around the table, his officers waited. Sarah Voss, his second-in-command, arms crossed. Admiral Naomi Stroud, cold and calculating. Knox, their Special Forces operative, sharpening his combat knife. Rourke exhaled. We hit another convoy last night. That makes 3. The Dominion is starting to notice. Knox grinned. Good. Let them sweat. Stroud leaned forward. They still think we're dead, Commander. We need to keep it that way. Rourke nodded, which means our next move has to be bigger. Voss raised an eyebrow. How big? Rourke pointed at the map. We take a shipyard. Silence. Then Knox chuckled. Hell yeah. Mission briefing. The infiltration of Outpost. Zeta 9. Target. Dominion. Outpost Zeta 9. A mid-sized space station used for repairing warships. Objective: sabotage ship production, steal Dominion tech, and leave nothing behind. Method: infiltration. Precision strikes, complete erasure of evidence. Rourke laid out the plan. We go in silent. No fleet battle, no orbital bombardment. We land a strike team, disable security, plant charges, and vanish before they know what hit them. Knox grinned. Stealth mission. I like it. Stroud, ever the realist, narrowed her eyes. And if we're caught? Rourke's expression hardened. Then we send a message they'll never forget. The infiltration. Ghosts in the dark location. Dominion outpost. Zeta 9. The UEN Revenant decloaked just long enough to release a strike team of 10 elite human soldiers in zero-G armor. They drifted silently toward the station, using magnetic boots to latch onto the outer hull. Inside, Dominion engineers worked unaware of the death approaching. Knox led the way, his combat knife gleaming in the low light. Control rooms 50 meters ahead, he whispered. They moved like shadows, slipping past patrolling alien guards. One Dominion officer turned just as Knox's blade slid into his throat. He died without a sound. Rourke's voice crackled in their earpieces. Keep it quiet. Set the charges. We give them 5 minutes before this place is nothing but debris. Sabotage and destruction. Voss hacked into the mainframe, shutting down station alarms. Knox's team planted explosives in the shipyard's reactor core. 3 minutes. All teams, exfil now, Rourke ordered. But then, alarms blared. The Dominion had found the bodies. Intruders! Lock down the station! Knox cursed. So much for quiet. Rourke switched to full assault mode. Plan B. Kill everything that moves. The firefight began. Human soldiers moved with brutal efficiency, gunning down Dominion warriors before they could call for reinforcements. Knox threw a grenade into the security hub. Boom. Voss took down an officer with a single plasma shot to the head. Rourke slammed an alien against the wall, stabbing his combat knife straight through its skull. The station shook as the charges detonated. Explosions tore through Zeta 9, ripping apart docks, fuel tanks, and repair bays. Their exit shuttle arrived just in time. As the human strike team escaped, the entire station exploded behind them, scattering Dominion wreckage into space. The Dominion's nightmare begins. Aboard the Dominion War Council, headquarters. A room filled with alien generals sat in stunned silence. A Dominion admiral, his face pale, reported the impossible. Outpost Zeta 9 is gone. Destroyed in under 10 minutes. Supreme Commander Kor's mandibles twitched. By what? The Admiral swallowed. We believe it was humans. The room was silent. Then Kor whispered, more to himself than anyone else. They are still alive. The Galactic Council had laughed at the human warning. Now, the laughter was gone. And for the first time, the Dominion felt what humans had felt. Fear. The first signs of fear. For the first time in Dominion history, entire warships were vanishing without explanation. They were not lost to battle, not to internal sabotage, not to technical failures. They simply disappeared into the void. At first, the High Command dismissed it as statistical anomalies. A few missing vessels meant nothing. But when entire fleets stopped responding, the truth became undeniable. The humans had survived. And now, the hunters were becoming the prey. The plan. Turning fear into a weapon. Aboard the UEN Revenant, deep space, uncharted territory, Commander Elias Rourke stood before the dimly lit war table, the glow of the holographic battle map reflecting off his scarred face. Around him, his officers, Sarah Voss, Admiral Naomi Stroud, and Knox, watched as he laid out humanity's first major offensive. Operation Phantom Requiem, Rourke announced. Knox smirked. Sounds dramatic. Stroud, ever serious, leaned forward. Target? Rourke pointed to a Dominion war convoy, 4 capital ships, 8 escorts, multiple supply haulers. We hit supply fleet K-17, one of the main Dominion supply chains feeding their war machine. We don't just destroy them. His voice lowered. We erase them. Voss narrowed her eyes. You mean no survivors? Rourke met her gaze. Not a single one. A beat of silence, then Knox grinned. Now you're speaking my language. The setup. An ambush in the void location. Deep space, Sector 246. The Dominion supply fleet. K-17 moved through the void, unaware of the death waiting for them. Massive fuel tankers, ammunition haulers, and repair ships drifted in formation. Their military escort, a Dreadnought-class battleship leading a squadron of cruisers and destroyers, patrolled lazily, weapons primed for any obvious threats. They never expected what happened next, because the humans were already inside their fleet. The silent attack. Aboard Dominion hauler, Theta 9. The alien crew patrolled the dimly lit maintenance corridors of the supply hauler, oblivious to the figures lurking in the vents above. Knox dropped first. Before the Zelvari officer could scream, Knox's blade was in its throat. Sarah Voss and her squad followed, moving like wraiths, eliminating Dominion soldiers without a sound. In the ship's control room, the command crew lay dead, their blood still warm. Voss leaned over the comm panel. Theta 9 secured, awaiting orders. On board the UEN Revenant, Rourke exhaled. Phase 2. Disable their comms. Disabling the fleet's eyes and ears. The Dominion fleet's communications went dark. Their long-range sensors blinked offline. To the rest of the Dominion, Fleet K-17 still existed. But in reality, they were already ghosts. All teams, move in, Rourke ordered. And the slaughter began. The execution. A fleet dies in silence. Like shadows in the void, human strike teams boarded every major vessel, planting charges in key reactor points, locking down hangars, and sabotaging weapons systems. When the Dominion ships finally realized they were under attack, it was too late. The Dreadnought's captain, an Arkaran warlord, snarled at his officers. Where are the attackers? A trembling ensign gulped. Inside the fleet, sir! We can't. Boom. The first explosions rocked the supply haulers, tearing them apart from within. The human fleet, hidden behind a nearby asteroid field, uncloaked and unleashed hell. Torpedoes streaked through the void. Railguns punched through Dominion hulls like they were made of paper. Stealth fighters weaved through debris, hunting down survivors like wolves, culling the weak. By the time the Dreadnought turned its guns to fire, it was alone. And then, a single message appeared on the shattered remains of its comms system. We warned you. The last thing the Dominion fleet ever saw was the glow of human warheads closing in. Then, silence. Aboard the Dominion War Council headquarters, Supreme Commander Valek Kor watched the battle recordings in horrified silence. No enemy fleet had been detected. No battle had been fought in the traditional sense, and yet an entire Dominion supply armada had been wiped from existence. The room of generals remained speechless. Then, one of them finally whispered the unthinkable. "They are hunting us." The Galactic Council had once laughed at humanity's threat. Now, the fear was spreading. And it was only the beginning. The Galactic Dominion had ruled for 1,000 years. They had crushed countless rebellions. They had erased entire species from history. They had burned worlds that defied them. And now, for the first time, they were afraid. Humanity had proven itself more than just a nuisance, more than a broken species clinging to survival. They were predators, and they were winning. But the Dominion would not go down without a fight. Now, it was humanity's turn to suffer. The trap is set location, Outer Rim, Tau Ceti system. The Dominion had been bleeding. Entire fleets disappeared into the void, ambushed, sabotaged, annihilated by unseen human forces. Their supply lines were failing. Their war machine was stalling. They needed a decisive victory, a moment to remind the galaxy who ruled. And so, Supreme Commander Valek Kor devised a trap, a false distress signal sent from a damaged Dominion convoy near Tau Ceti, a signal that would lure the humans in, and waiting just beyond the system's dust clouds, an entire Dominion war fleet. Humanity walks into the fire. Aboard the UEN Revenant, Deep Space, Commander Elias Rourke studied the intercepted distress signal flashing on his holo table. Sarah Voss folded her arms. It's bait. Knox leaned back, flipping his combat knife between his fingers. Yeah, but what if it's real? Admiral Stroud frowned. Intel suggests that convoy was already destroyed 2 weeks ago. This is a setup. Rourke exhaled. They had always been the ones setting the ambushes. But what if this time the Dominion had adapted? He turned to his officers. We send in the Ghost Fleet. Stealth ships first. If it's a trap, we turn it against them. Voss nodded. And if it's worse than we think? Rourke's jaw tightened. Then we find out how much hell we can survive. The trap springs shut location, Tau Ceti, Dominion ambush zone. The UEN Ghost Fleet, humanity's most advanced stealth warships, slipped into the system, scanning the debris field of the damaged Dominion convoy. Something was wrong. No survivors, no escape pods, no life signs. Then, gravitic mines detonated. The shockwave ripped through the lead human warships, disabling stealth systems and knocking power offline. And before anyone could react, the Dominion warfleet decloaked. Not just a handful of ships, hundreds dreadnoughts, heavy cruisers, swarms of fighters, an entire armada waiting for this moment. For the first time since the fall of Earth, the hunters had become the hunted. The Battle of Tau Ceti. The Dominion warfleet opened fire. Energy beams carved through the void, slicing into human ships before they could maneuver. Railgun rounds and torpedoes detonated hulls, sending debris scattering into space. Humanity had grown powerful, but they had never faced this many ships at once. One by one, the Ghost Fleet began to fall. Aboard the UEN Revenant, alarms screamed. Shields down to 32%. Multiple hull breaches. Ghost 9 and Ghost 12 are gone. Rourke gritted his teeth. They had been played, but they weren't dead yet. Admiral Stroud, he barked. Execute Eclipse Maneuver. Humanity's desperate counterattack. The Eclipse Maneuver, a high-risk, high-reward combat strategy designed for overwhelmingly outnumbered human fleets. It was insane. It was desperate. And it was their only chance. The remaining human warships cut all power, drifting dead in space to mimic destroyed wreckage. The Dominion, thinking they had won, ceased fire, preparing to mop up the survivors. That's when humanity struck. From the drifting wrecks, dozens of hidden missile silos opened. From the darkness of space, cloaked human warships decloaked behind the Dominion fleet. And from the shadows, humanity unleashed everything they had. Torpedoes ripped through Dominion dreadnoughts. Stealth fighters surgically targeted enemy flagships. EMP bombs shut down alien weapons systems. The Dominion formation crumbled. For the first time in history, the Dominion panicked. But despite the damage, there were too many of them. The humans had been baited into a war of attrition. And they were losing. A hero's last stand. Aboard the UEN Revenant, Rourke knew what had to be done. If they stayed, the Dominion would wipe them out. All surviving ships, retreat! Voss's eyes widened. Sir, we can't. That's an order, Rourke growled. The remaining human fleet jumped into FTL, fleeing before they were completely annihilated. But one ship didn't leave. The UEN Valor. Its captain, Commander Julian Kane, locked eyes with Rourke through the holofeed. Sir, if we leave now, they'll chase us to the ends of the galaxy. I can give you time. Rourke clenched his fists. That's suicide. Kane smiled. I know. The Valor turned, engines flaring. It charged directly into the Dominion warfleet. Dominion officers barely had time to react before the Valor's reactor detonated. A white-hot explosion consumed the Dominion's lead, dreadnought vaporizing half their fleet in an instant. Rourke watched in silence as Kane and his crew became legends. And the human fleet, what remained of it, escaped into the void. Aftermath. The cost of survival location, hidden human outpost, the Black Ark. They had lost half their fleet, thousands of soldiers, and one of their finest captains. For the first time in this war, humanity had been forced to run. But as Rourke stood before his battered crew, his voice was steel. They think they won today. His eyes burned with fury. But Kane just showed us how to beat them. He turned to his officers. We will learn. We will adapt. We will grow stronger. He clenched his fist. And when we return, the Dominion will beg for mercy. A pause. And we will give them none. The human fleet had been broken. The Dominion's trap at Tau Ceti had left half their forces destroyed. And now the survivors drifted in the cold darkness of space, battered and bleeding. For the first time in the war, humanity had been forced to retreat. But war isn't won by battles alone. It's won by those who refuse to die. And as the survivors licked their wounds in the shadows of the void, a discovery was about to change everything. The hidden Ark location, dead space. The Black Ark, unknown. Coordinates Commander. Elias Rourke stood in the command center of the Black Ark, the last true stronghold of the human resistance. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a fleet. It was a forgotten relic, a derelict human megastructure, hidden beyond the known galaxy, buried in the void for centuries. And inside, something the Dominion had no idea existed. The truth buried in history. Admiral Naomi Stroud stared at the holodisplay, reading over the decrypted files. This isn't possible, she whispered. Sarah Voss leaned in. What? Stroud turned to Rourke. Her voice was deadly serious. Humanity was never supposed to win a conventional war against the Dominion. Knox frowned. Yeah, no shit. That's why we're here. Bleeding. Stroud exhaled. Humanity was never meant to fight like this at all. We weren't supposed to go head-to-head with their war machine. That's not how we were designed to fight. She tapped the console. The holo projector flickered, revealing ancient human war doctrine, hidden in classified archives for centuries. Operation Revenant, the forgotten doctrine, humanity's original war. Plan. Humanity's first contact with alien civilizations hadn't been peaceful. The first species they met tried to exterminate them, and humanity had learned from the very beginning that they would never match the galaxy's superpowers in raw strength. So they had designed something worse, a way of war that was so terrifying, so unrelenting, that no empire could survive against it. It wasn't about holding territory. It wasn't about diplomacy. It wasn't even about survival. It was about erasure. The strategy: total war, without limits. Humanity was always meant to fight in the shadows, Stroud explained. We were supposed to erase enemy logistics, shatter morale, and dismantle infrastructure. Voss frowned. We're already doing that. Stroud shook her head. No, we're still thinking like a traditional military. She zoomed in on the old war doctrine. Look at this. The Ghost War Initiative. Rourke's eyes narrowed. The strategy wasn't about fighting head-on. It was about wiping entire civilizations from the inside out. Sabotage, biowarfare, cyber warfare, stealing enemy ships and turning them against their own. A total, systematic collapse of an empire. And humanity was designed for it. The first step, the Ghost Fleet. Rise's Rourke turned to his officers. The Dominion thinks we're a dying race. We let them believe that. He pointed at the new plan. We don't fight their fleet. We don't engage their armies. His eyes darkened. We make the entire Dominion collapse from within. Knox grinned. So we don't just kill them. We make them turn on each other. Rourke nodded. Exactly. And with that, the war changed forever. The first test. Dominion Communications Hub location, Arrakis 4, Dominion Data Fortress. The first Ghost Fleet mission was simple. Steal the Dominion's most classified military intelligence and rewrite their war plans from the inside. It was impossible. Until the humans did it. The infiltration, silent hunters. The UEN, Revenant, cloaked itself in Arrakis 4's asteroid field, while a team of cyber warfare specialists and stealth operatives infiltrated the Dominion's central intelligence hub. No alarms, no explosions, no evidence left behind. They didn't just steal Dominion war plans. They rewrote them. The Dominion would never know their own ships had been hacked, their own leaders compromised, their own fleets turned against each other. The humans were already inside their empire, and the enemy had no idea. Aboard the Dominion War Council, Headquarters, Supreme Commander Valek Kor stared at the latest intelligence reports. Something was wrong. Entire Dominion supply lines had been lost. Internal communication failures were spreading. Entire shipyards had gone dark. The humans weren't just attacking them anymore. They were inside their systems, inside their ships, inside their empire. And suddenly, for the first time since the war began, Kor realized something horrifying. The war was already lost. The war had lasted 3 years. 3 years of terror, 3 years of shattered fleets, 3 years of humanity refusing to die. The Dominion's once mighty empire was fracturing. Their warships turned against each other. Their supply lines were non-existent. Entire sectors had gone dark, lost to human sabotage. The Galactic Council's laughter had long since faded. Now, there was only fear. Because the war wasn't just about winning anymore. It was about ending the Dominion forever. And today, the end begins. The Dominion's last move. Aboard the Dominion War Council headquarters, Zelvari Prime Supreme Commander Valek Kor stood before his remaining warlords, his black exosuit gleaming under the dim tactical lights. The faces before him were filled with desperation. "We are losing," one of them growled. Another slammed his clawed fist on the table. "This is unacceptable. We are the Dominion. Kor's mandibles clicked. We were the Dominion. The room went silent. The humans have adapted, Kor continued. They fight like ghosts. They have turned our own technology against us. They are inside our systems, inside our fleets, inside our very command structure. He turned to the holographic display. But today, that ends. The Dominion's last fleet, what remained of their once unstoppable war machine, had been recalled to one final stronghold. A single fortress world, hidden in the far reaches of the Orion Arm. A world designed for one purpose, to serve as the last bastion of the Dominion. Kor's mandibles tightened. Let the humans come, he said coldly. We will burn them from existence. The Ghost Fleet rises one last time. Aboard the UEN Revenant, Deep Space Commander Elias Rourke stared at the tactical map. His eyes were cold, unforgiving, relentless. Admiral Naomi Stroud stood beside him. It's their last stand, she murmured. Sarah Voss exhaled. It won't be easy. Even weakened, their fleet is still massive. Rourke nodded. And that's why we're not fighting them in a straight battle. He turned to his officers. This war ends tonight. Knox grinned. What's the plan? Rourke's voice was steel. We burn the Dominion to the ground. The final assault, the Battle of Zelvari Prime Location, Dominion Fortress World, Zelvari Prime System. The Dominion's final fleet formed a wall of steel and fire around their last stronghold. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, orbital defense platforms. The last warriors of the Dominion stood ready to make their final stand. Then, out of the darkness, the Ghost Fleet arrived. Phase 1. The Silent Strike. Before the Dominion even knew the attack had begun, their entire defense grid collapsed. Human cyber warfare teams hacked their targeting systems. Sabotage teams, already hidden on their space stations, detonated reactors from within. Dominion ships turned against each other, unable to distinguish friend from foe. Panic spread. It was already too late. Phase 2. The Hammer. Falls then came the fleet. Thousands of human warships decloaked just outside weapons range and fired everything. Torpedoes, railguns, plasma lances. The Dominion's outer defenses shattered in the first 7 minutes. Entire battleships were ripped apart before they could return fire. The Dominion's final fleet had once conquered worlds. Tonight, they died, screaming. Phase 3. The final blow. Aboard the Dominion War Council bunker, Zelvari Prime. The planetary shield around Zelvari Prime flickered, then collapsed. Valek Kor stood frozen, staring at the holoscreens. Impossible. The humans were on the surface. Rourke and his elite strike team had already landed, and they were coming for him. The death of the Dominion. The corridors of the Dominion's War Council bunker ran red with blood and fire. Knox led the charge, his combat knife carving through alien warlords like they were nothing. Voss's squad moved with precision, clearing rooms with merciless efficiency. And at the very heart of the bunker, Rourke found Kor. The supreme commander of the Dominion stood alone. His golden armor, once a symbol of power, was now dented and burning. Rourke raised his weapon. Kor bared his fangs. You think killing me will change anything? Rourke's expression never wavered. I know it will. He pulled the trigger. The last leader of the Dominion fell, and with him, the Empire died. Humanity's new dawn. The war was over. The Dominion was gone. And humanity, once a species on the brink of extinction, was now the most feared force in the galaxy. The Galactic Council had once laughed at humanity. Now they whispered in terror because they all knew the truth. Humanity never surrenders. Humanity never forgives. And if you cross them, they will hunt you forever. The war is over. The Dominion is dead. But humanity has just begun. They thought they could wipe us out. They thought we would fall and fade into history. They were wrong. Now the galaxy knows our name. They fear our ships. They whisper our legend. This is humanity's rise. This is our future. If you love this battle, smash that like button. Share this story with fellow warriors. Subscribe to HFY Genesis for more legendary sci-fi. The war may be over, but the next battle is coming. Turn on notifications and be ready when the call comes. Because when humanity hunts, we never stop. Death